Final hour overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Jays with a win today. Man, they needed that. They get a split 2-game series down in Philly, and they got Minnesota coming to town this week. So we know what happened last year in the wild card round. So that's coming up. And we got golf picks later in the hour. Quail Hollow, the Wells Fargo, great field, elevated event, PGA Championship next week. Means we're a year removed from Michael Block, the Block Party, right?
Yeah, that's right.
He got a return invite because of his...
He'll be there. He was top 15. He's back. He'll be there this week.
That was Tin Cup, right? That guy,
was exactly
basically?
it. Do you think he finishes better than Tiger? Michael Block?
No.
Block or Tiger?
Dude, the fact that you even thought about asking that question is
ridiculous.
Out of this world.
Scary.
Out of this world.
Yeah, scary.
The fact that I actually contemplated the Block Party. I thought about the Block Party over Tiger Woods.
I know. So would I, because I think Block will play 36. He may shoot 80-80. I don't know. If Tiger shoots a 78 his first round, his glutes may not shoot on Friday.
It's gone.
Right?
Hayes, I can't believe a doctor hasn't said, look, man, you are one funky swing away from being in serious trouble. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about your golf score, like walking trouble. Somebody's had to have had
I'll bet you they have. And he's not willing. It's his life, and he wants to play. And I credit him for wanting to play.
I get it too, but the only way you grind it out and gut it out to tee it up is if you realistically have a chance to win, and he doesn't.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
So then it comes to the question, what are you actually doing? Is it just because of ego and you like the spotlight and you love everyone eyeballing you walking down the field?
He's got a new product line, right? He's got to play in that to make money. He's got to play in his new clothing line.
Not to mention, what are you going to do the rest of your life? You got to stay busy. He's got lots of business ventures. How old is he?
48.
48. He's not even 50 years old yet. What's he going to do the rest of his life? He's probably going to try and play as long as he can, and then once the body gives out, it seems like it's giving out now, shift your focus into something else. Like Tom Brady, we were talking about that roast, right? Mm-hmm. Tom Brady's going to, by the sounds of it, go into the booth, correct? It's all going.
That's what they're anticipating.
But
that's the anticipation, yeah.
But, it is an adjustment. The guy has been a football player his whole life, and now you're into retirement. What's your next... he doesn't need money, but what are you going to do from age 46 if you want to live to you're 90? What are you going to do? You can't just sit around and golf every day and do nothing.
It's a good question. With him, he can get into the booth if he wants to. I believe he has said that's his plan. I mean, I guess he could pull a shoot at any time. I think the NFL is releasing their schedule next week, which is always speaks to the magnitude of the NFL that gets people buzzing for days. Yeah. There'll be full breakdowns on ESPN of a schedule. Who's got the best schedule, who's got the worst. But we'll know which games will be a Fox game where Brady will be calling it. And if he does it, does he do it for 25 years? Does he do what John Madden did? Is he in the booth for 30 years?
It depends on what he thinks of it and what he likes. Because he's the kind of guy where he's going to give himself every chance to succeed. But there's also a chance he don't like it.
Yeah. I always he's got to give that money back.
Yeah. I always see guys like that more at the ownership level. The Michael Jordan, getting involved at the ownership. Mario Lemieux,
this
guys
guy's obsessed with winning. He'll want to have his hands on a team and try to make them win.
He's got a piece of the Raiders, right?
Well, that's what I mean. I just feel like he'll be in on something. With Tiger, could you would there ever be a scenario where you'd want to see him in the booth chatting about it?
I don't know, man. He doesn't have it's kind of like Brady, though. Like I said, when Brady left New England, he had no personality. He has changed that, and I think the roast was actually a part of that plan, was humanize him, laugh at yourself, prove that you can tell a joke, you can take a joke, goes a long way. And he has certainly been more outspoken and great on social media and all that. Tiger's, he'd have to loosen up so much. I don't know if he's got it in him. But he's been so stiff publicly forever.
But you guys, you love golf so much. If Tiger just said, for this tournament, I'm I'm in the booth.
I'd be intrigued by it because it's him, but
Right.
can he do it every single week? Can he make the Rocket Mortgage interesting?
Yeah.
He ain't
You know
doing
what I mean?
that, man. He ain't doing
I know he's not doing that, but Brady's as big in his sport as Tiger is in his, close to it anyway.
Yeah.
Brady's willing to do it. Like, the money's greater, the platform's greater, but, I think Phil Mickelson would have done it. But
I
Phil,
think
that's
Phil
out
would be
now.
absolutely perfect. in
Phil
the
would be
booth.
phenomenal.
But that's
But I don't know with the marriage breakup of the tour.
Well, I don't think it
and
can
him.
happen now.
No.
Although maybe,
Right.
because if they come together and it sounds like that's the direction they're going in, maybe bygones will be bygones in a few years, and that'll be Phil's redemption tour. Get in the booth and see what happens. All right, more on the Jays and our best bets and our golf picks later in the hour. Here's Darren Dreger, our TSN Hockey Insider. How you doing, Dregs?
Yeah, I'm doing okay, guys. How are you?
Doing well. Saw you and Gino getting after it today on the Leafs and the coaching position.
Was Gino yelling at you, Dregs?
No. Gino and I have a pact. We have an agreement. I'm not Craig Button. I'm not Bryan Hayes or Frankie Corrado. He cannot try and provoke me because it's not going to work. I'm simply going to take my microphone off and leave my home.
What do you mean? So you told him, look, man, I'm just here to report news. If you try to come back at me, I'm ninja dust or what?
No, I'm okay with the follow-ups. It's like we're not going to debate the information, right? You're not going to challenge me on the direction of the team. I'm here as an insider reporting the facts. Let's not engage in something ridiculous for
Okay. All right. Yeah, see, I don't have that pact with Gino. My pact with Gino is we will yell at each other, and that's the way it works, and it's great. So what I guess, it's up there, obviously, on tsn.ca, SportsCenter, YouTube, et cetera, but give us where are we at here with Sheldon Keefe and the Maple Leafs?
Well, not much has changed since, about 1:30 this afternoon when, we recorded that episode. And management of the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's Brendan Shanahan, that's mostly Brad Treliving, his GM, continues to deliberate. But, I think the writing is on the wall here, isn't it, as far as the future of Sheldon Keefe? Eliminated on Saturday night, and even though this guy's on the cusp of entering into a contract extension with the Maple Leafs, he's still uncertain of whether or not he has a job in Toronto or not. And as I said in the piece, it feels more likely at this point that the Maple Leafs are going to move on from Sheldon Keefe, but Treliving has not made that determination. He has not. I expect that they'll make a final decision at some point tomorrow, probably earlier in the day, and that just makes sense. Does not align with the management media availability on Friday morning, which we know includes Treliving, Shanahan, and the head of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, Keith Pelly.
So, if that is the timeline, if they end up moving off of Sheldon, they get into the race here. There's other vacancies. Some of them are filling up. Travis Green in Ottawa. Bannister had the interim tag taken off in St. Louis. But there's suitors out there. There's longstanding coaches available.
Yeah.
Where do you see them going with this?
Well, and that's the direction I think they do go, Brian, is with a coach. If, again, ultimately they've got to make that decision. And Treliving has the final call on this. I actually felt like it was probably going to happen today, and it clearly hasn't happened yet. So he's still chewing on it. But I do know that if they replace Sheldon Keefe, it'll be based on experience. And also the fact that it's not just this season, and they were eliminated Game 7 again by the Boston Bruins. It's more the history and the history of failure and disappointment, and not putting that at the feet of Sheldon Keefe. The organization, the players have to own that. But change for the sake of change in this case is probably going to be a good thing. But you do have to replace Sheldon with somebody you know can do the job, and chances are is better based on that level of experience. So I'm looking directly at Craig Berube, not that far removed from hoisting the Stanley Cup in St. Louis. I know that he went down the path a long ways in discussions with the Ottawa Senators, as Steve Staios acknowledged earlier today when they announced Travis Green officially. He talked to 7 candidates. Well, Berube was probably at the front of that line, and for whatever reason, it just didn't come together. Todd McCullough shouldn't be overlooked. There's some wonder about Jared Gallant, Turk, and again, the level of experience, the fact that he's coached in major market in New York, the experience that he has, all of that. But Berube is a hot commodity. He is. He's a hot commodity around the league. He's been linked to the New Jersey Devils, to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and go down the list. So he's going to be coaching somewhere, and it could be Toronto. We should find out, tomorrow or as late as Friday, I guess.
Dregs, by the announcement of who's going to be at the press conference on Friday, is it safe to assume that Brendan Shanahan and Brad Treliving are going to get the stamp of approval from Keith Pelly?
Yeah, well, from where I sit and the information that I've gathered, I feel safe in saying that. Crazier things have happened. We know that Keith Pelly is a collection of bosses, and that's the board, right? It's comprised of Bell execs and Rogers brass and others. So I don't think that there's going to be change at the top with Brendan Shanahan, and I can't imagine that Brad Treliving's position as general manager is even remotely in question after just getting through 1 year. What I can tell you guys, and this is why I'm so confident in saying it the way that I've said it specific to Shanahan, I know that he's part of the meetings where they're going through the evaluation of this year, and they're planning and structuring for next season. And my understanding is that Keith Pelly would be part of those meetings and part of those conversations. So if you're getting to that point, you're going through all of that, that doesn't sound like, Shanahan is about to be dusted here. At least it doesn't to me. But again, when you're swinging in high-level circles like this, I always want to leave myself, as an old Bob McKenzie trick, leave yourself a little bit of wiggle room. I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked if there was a change either in management or upper management like Shanahan. I just don't see that based on what I've learned in the last dozen hours or so.
Darren, we talk about the noise. We've talked about it in the last hour. So with all the noise of the fans saying that's enough, the core group's not good enough, we've also discussed them all returning. Brian thinks they're probably all they're going to be back. How much of the noise affects those people that you just talked about? Like, do they understand the fans' frustration? And more importantly, do they just say, let's let everybody calm down, and then we're just going to go back at it again and punch our ticket and see if it works, which I actually think would be crazy. But how do they deal with the noise? Are they just like, we need to make change? I know they're not feeling pressured to do anything, but do they care about the angst, or how do they react to it?
No, 100% they care about it, but you're right, and I'm glad you described it that way. They're not feeling pressured because of the fan base or the noise inside the market, and that includes us in the media. Management isn't going to, kind of mold their decisions on how they try and put together a different look to the Toronto Maple Leafs next season because they're feeling the heat. But are they sensitive to it? Of course they are, because they're very appreciative of the fan base. And they know that the media is there to inform the fans. So they're sensitive to it, but I think that there are certain points of the year where, as a general manager, as a coach, and as a player, you just got to shut that down. You've got to absolutely slam that lid closed. So you're not listening to it. You're not poring over social media and all of that. And I think that Treliving, Sheldon Keefe, the players are in that space right now. Again, just digesting the disappointment of a first-round exit. Yeah, there's some angst and question as to what the offseason is going to look like. And I believe that Brad Treliving 100% is going to execute change. But again, if we're talking about the core of the Maple Leafs, really we're talking about two guys, aren't we? We're talking about Marner and we're talking about Tavares, and you're looking at no-move clauses. And look, if we want to drill down on Mitch Marner for a moment, I've been around Darren Ferris for a long time, the agent for Mitch Marner. And if you want to investigate his history, especially with elite-level players going into the final year of their contract on the cusp of unrestricted free agency, he walks those guys to free agency. That's what happens. So armed with the no-move clause and everything else, as Mitch stated in his exit interview, they're open to have a conversation about an extension. He says he looks forward to having that conversation, hopes that he can extend his career with the Toronto Maple Leafs. But beyond that, that's what's going to be the intriguing element to all of this. If Brad Treliving and management, if the Leafs in general feel like they've got to find a way to move one of those two guys, well, how do you execute that? How does it work? What sort of pressure tactics are you willing to embrace to try and encourage those players to change their mind? It's not going to be easy.
No, it won't be with Darren Dreger. And, like Tavares and Marner, different stages of their careers, as well. John, I think, is well aware he's not making that kind of money in the future. But Marner will be expecting to make more than he is right now, I would assume. I mean, as a UFA, it's 27. And this is where it's going to be interesting because I don't know. I can't speak for Treliving. I can't speak for Shanahan. Shanahan is, if he's back and he's still the man in charge, that's why I kind of speak to the idea that I think everything's just going to continue because he's been very patient with these guys. He's been very committed to them for a long time. I don't see why it would all of a sudden change when it didn't last year, the year before that. But I am curious if, with the Marner situation in particular, and possibly him just playing it out, when he 5 years ago, when he was coming up, he was the man. Like they were still had visions of winning cups and Mitch being a main piece on that. Yeah. I'm curious if that is what could lead to maybe Darren Ferris's agent, the Marner camp changing, realizing they're in a different position today. I would assume. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But 5 years ago, they knew they had the Leafs because the Leafs had to have Mitch Marner. I don't know if the Leafs feel they have to have him anymore. And as a result, I don't know if they can negotiate or plan on negotiating the same way, Dregs.
Right.
Because I would think now you got 8 years where you're like, sorry, Mitch, you guys haven't won anything, and we don't feel the same way we did 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's a tough negotiation, Brian, and you're right. I had someone describe to me, fair or unfair, Mitch Marner is a support player. That's what he is. And if you subscribe to that and, his productivity in the regular season would suggest otherwise. He's more than that, of course. But that's not what we're talking about here. It doesn't seem likely that the Maple Leafs are going to have the appetite or the stomach to give him the money that he's making or the money that William Nylander is about to make. Okay, so then how do you address it? If you can't convince him to do a sign-in trade where you get back something, or you can't convince him to trade, period, then, I guess the only thing you're left with is letting him walk into free agency. And it's addition by subtraction, a year from July 1, because now you've got close to $11 million in cap space that you can reinvest. But that doesn't do anything to polish up what your needs are, either on defense or what other areas of need that you feel that you have in time for next season.
Darren, what would be the motivation for a player to kind of just say, and it is the player's right, I've always said that, where I would tell the team, you gave me the no trade, no movement, don't even ask me, I'll ask you. Like, don't even bring it to my attention. But if the team shows their desire to move away from the player, doesn't the player say, maybe it's time to go somewhere? Who would want to live in that environment? Yeah, just for the spite's sake, like just to say, I'm going to show them, I'm going to keep playing for the team when they don't want me to. It just doesn't make a ton of sense to me.
No, it doesn't. And look, it used to be, and it could be the case, specific to Marner because of the no move, where, if Treliving goes to him, to Darren Ferris, and says, okay, well, we are interested in exploring trade. Ferris goes, okay, well, I'm going to talk to the client and the family, and we're going to come back with an option. It might be no option because he's not interested in trade at all, as we've already discussed. He might be more open to it than I think, or he might be open to it in a limited field of one or two teams, and we'll give you the destination of one or two teams. I honestly don't think that the noise is going to influence Mitch Marner. How much more heat can a guy take in a market? And I say that, and there's probably people driving on the 401 right now going, oh, we can turn up the heat because we're Leafs Nation. But, I mean, this kid has been a beacon for that sort of level of negativity for at least the last few years, couple for sure. So if he's confident enough that he feels that he can block it out and he can be protected by family and friends and his teammates and all of that, then maybe he can endure it. But I do think that just in doing due diligence, it would make sense that Brad Treliving, with or without consent of Mitch Marner and Darren Ferris, would engage, and maybe he already has, in conversation with teams, just planting that seed. Hey, And then when you've got something you think you can work with, you take it back to the agent and the player and say, okay, we haven't asked you for a destination of choice, but teams are asking. And we feel like we could get something done with Team X. Any interest in doing that? And then you work off the potential of that scenario. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but I think that's how I would think and operate if I were a GM.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's interesting is, a lot of the angst that is directed towards Marner, in my opinion, is because of the contract and the negotiation the last time.
Yeah,
and
right.
Now it's back on the doorstep of the Maple Leafs and Marner and Leafs Nation, and it couldn't come at a worse time because of what just happened. Yeah. But fans are fickle, and I there's a part of me that would root for the idea of Marner saying, "Give me this chance, let me play this out, or let me work on a deal, and I'm not going to ask for the world." I don't think he'll do it, but I think it'd be in his best interest, because the whole thing could change. Dregs, he goes out and plays unreal next year, signs an extension at a reasonable number. Obviously, he's not playing for nothing, but a reasonable number, and they win. He's the king again. He's the king.
Agreed.
Like he can get everyone back on his side with a good negotiation, a deal that looks team friendly, and he plays unreal and they win. He will be a god, like you just said. He can get it all back, but does he have it in him to try to do that? Does he even want to? I don't know. I don't know him personally.
Well, and that's what the conversation has to be about, that Mitch alluded to in his exit interview, in the discussions that they're having with the Toronto Maple Leafs. But let's also not lose sight of the history here too, right? And I'm not going to pile on Kyle Dubas, because every general manager has to roll the dice when you're talking about paying, significant contracts out the way he had to with Mitch Marner. The deal that they ended up agreeing to would have been quite a bit less if they had assigned Marner in August or September leading into the season, right? And, instead, Matthews gets the 5-year contract extension, and then away they go because Marner puts up the numbers. So there was a better deal to be had, but Mitch bet on himself, and the year that he had when he got the mega contract extension, I guess, was well earned. The Leafs didn't have a whole lot of leverage at that point.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's going to be an interesting one on Friday, and I'm curious what you think Pelly's role in this. Like, what kind of messaging would you expect from Keith Pelly, who's dealing with fires not only with the Leafs, the Raptors, the Argos, like the whole organization is in a tough spot right now.
Yeah, I haven't spoken directly or communicated directly with Keith. But what I believe is likely is, okay, it's a show of solidarity when you've got all three of those men shoulder to shoulder, right? And who knows? Maybe they've got a new coach. Well, so now there's a fourth chair at the head table on Friday, which is plausible. I mean, it could happen. I'm not certain of that. But I think that Pelly will acknowledge that it's unacceptable what this team and maybe the Raptors included have done recently. But in the Maple Leafs perspective, it's a lot longer than recent. So there has to be change. So in saying something like that, I think that he puts people on notice. But by him being there, there is going to be a show of support for senior management and management of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So whether he goes beyond that in terms of expressing the concerns of the board, the expectation of the board in 24-25, it's going to be must-see at 10:30 on Friday morning.
Yep, it most certainly will. All right, Dregs, we'll leave it there. It's going to be an active 48 hours or so. We'll do it again soon. Thank you.
Okay, guys, have a good night.
Darren Dreger, a TSN Hockey Insider.
You said something, Hayes, and I'm trying to think about it. Like, let me ask you this, and I brought this up yesterday. Marner, what would be the perception? Would be a team-friendly deal for Mitch financially?
God only knows.
Less than he's making right now.
Okay, that's kind of where I was going, because he makes $11 million. Like, it's not like that's.
I've never seen that before.
Number.
A guy in their prime, though, go backwards with the same team.
I understand that, but that's not like my point. Is that a team-friendly deal? I don't know if that's available. He's $11 million is a lot of money. He's
got to go backwards.
That doesn't even sound right to say. Like $10 million would be a team-friendly deal.
I think it would be based on his production. If you look at it, he hasn't been hit 100 points, but he's in that neighborhood. Let's call it. Let's round up 100-point player. Okay. I mean, they usually are double digit financially. It's just, the lack of success in the playoffs, and it's not just him. It's a team game.
And Noodles, by the way, I'd just like to bring about the idea. This is not on Mitch Marner, all of it. He is a part of the grouping that just because he puts up points. It's not like he's got goose eggs, but it's not enough. That's what we're talking about here, people. You could come at me with stats, and somebody tweeted out the other day, this guy's got fantastic stats and this and that. That is correct. And this is not all about Mitch. He is a part of the grouping, which we brought up day one after this loss to the Bruins. All of these players together don't do enough to win. That's what we're talking about here. And Mitch is certainly part of that. We had one of the best analysts in the game that sat between the benches and said the words, he looked hurt or disinterested. That wasn't us. That was Ray. Yeah. So it's not like we're making this garbage up, okay? No. But we're not putting it all on him. All of them together, they don't do enough to win. We don't hate Mitch Marner. I personally love watching him play. He does fantastic things. But the difference of the regular season and the playoffs, there is big-time difference there. Like, there's a separator there that's real noticeable.
Also, the money.
All of them.
Again,
all of them.
But they've committed to Matthews. They've committed to Willie. So those guys are here. So
that's right.
Like we said, the Rangers have 4 forwards plus Fox plus Shesterkin for the same money. Who are you taking? Yeah. Obviously, the Rangers in the way that they're built. So that first and foremost, it's simply it's a money issue. And then beyond that, so even if Marner were to say, I'll take 10 a year, I still don't think it works. If Matthews is making 13.25 and Willie's making 11.5.
Absolutely not.
Like, unless he's willing to play for $5 million, I don't know if it's going to work.
No.
But the idea of him entertaining that, what I would actually love to see, and again, I don't even think, because of what we just said, it even makes sense from a team building standpoint. But if you were to come out and say, listen, I want to be a Leaf. I'm going to prove I love being a Leaf. I'm going to win here, and I'm going to do this, that, and the other, and I'm going to show you, and the fans are going to love me, and I'm going to be a king. I'd actually love that attitude, but I don't know if that's going to happen. And again, a large portion of the fan base held it against him the way the last deal went down. Fairly or unfairly, that's just a reality. And now it's up again. All right, best bets still to come, and our PGA picks and the Jays with a win today. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, today's best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Oilers money line tonight. I'm going to lay the juice. Got Edmonton tonight. Draisaitl anytime goal scorer. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins 1+ point recorded. I think the power play will be cooking for the Oilers tonight. Could see it being a slow start. Both teams haven't played in a long time. But Oilers money line, Draisaitl anytime goal scorer, Nugent-Hopkins 1+ point. Today's best bets powered by FanDuel. FanDuel's goal in the first 10 minutes is the most electric bet in hockey and can be included in a same-game parlay on any NHL game. Please play responsibly. Must be 18+ and physically located in Ontario. All right, we'll get to our golf picks a little bit later on here. And we're going to have Cody Decker join us here in a moment because the Jays got themselves a win down in Philly.
I know, but what does that mean? Like, it's almost like
a one-off.
God, I've never Jay's Twitter right now. It's toxic, a wild scene, man. To take your term, Hayes, it's a wild scene.
Yeah,
it
is. And the Leafs are over there in the corner just saying, "Go talk about them."
Yeah,
please.
Look over there. They're like sea bass in the restaurant right now. They're like, no,
wasn't me, man. Wasn't me. It was. I didn't throw that pepper shaker off your head. Yeah, because the Jays are 3 games under 500. Again, they won 5-3 this afternoon. They have a minus 44 run differential. Like that is absurd, man. Like the White Sox are terrible. Miami's
How was your
pretty
boy
awful.
Bo today, Hayes? Was he?
He got himself a big hit actually at an RBI. He was hitting 6th in the lineup, man.
Yeah.
Like that for
Crazy,
ball players,
man.
like that's a big message. That's a big message. And
when's the slot down where you're like, He probably thinks he's in trouble a little bit, but when's doom scrolling start?
Not far off, man, because he went from 3 to 5 to 6. You know, like you can't hit him any higher. The guy's hitting 195. He's got an OPS under 600. He's got 1 home run on the season. Here's former MLB vet, Sirius XM host of Beadle and Decker back on OverDrive. Here's Cody Decker. What's happening, Cody?
Oh, dude, just living the dream. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well, man. I mean, you can speak to it as a ball player yourself. Like when Bo's a guy that hit, second in the lineup a lot last year. This year it's been third. They tried to mix it up a little bit. When you show up in the clubhouse and you're hitting sixth, all of a sudden, what kind of messaging is that?
It depends. It depends how communicative your manager is. It depends on what kind of season you're having, what your past is, depending on what type of player you are. Bichette's never really been the power guy, so the fact that he's moving around the lineup, he's one of those guys that can move around the lineup, which is a good thing. He has power. He's not necessarily a power guy. He's supposed to be a damn good hitter that has power, yet he's none of the above so far this season. I don't know what is going on with these Blue Jays, man. I feel like I have spent the last 3 years talking them up, and man, do they just let me down time after time after time after time. I thought the youth movement that is now a veteran group practically at this point, I thought this was going to be the youth movement that took over the AL East. Joke's on all of us. It was the Orioles all along.
Mm-hmm. So there's the big question. This group doesn't, and it's difficult right now because there's recency bias involved because you're looking at how bad they're performing day in and day out, and you don't have a lot of belief. But the blowing up from a rebuild is a scary place to be for a fan base. Like, how far away do you get where that's reality? Like, where this just didn't work and you got to reboot it?
It just depends on the front office, depends on the ownership. Now, this is a front office that I think is very committed to this group. And keep in mind, on paper, this is a phenomenal team. You guys mentioned it. They won a very tough one today against the Phillies. They are only 3 games under 500. Unfortunately, they're in the wrong division to be 3 games under 500. If this was the, right now, which is shocking to say, the AL West right now, they'd be right in the mix of things. But unfortunately, they got to deal with the Orioles. They got to deal with the Tampa Bay Rays. They got to deal with the Yankees. And this is a real Yankee team that we're actually seeing right now. I think it's going to take patience, but I also don't think that the youth players that we were expecting to turn into superstars, dude, at some point, you got to just move on because Bichette is not turning out to be that guy. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. not turning out to be that guy. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean they're not good ball players.
How much is left, though? How much is left until they, how long do you have to become a superstar, I guess is the question. Do they got the rest of this season? Does it go, look at your watch and tell me what the answer is.
What is it?
A year ago.
Yeah.
Oh.
Exactly. I agree with you.
I'm sorry. The time's up. They're not going to be the guys you want them to be. They're good players. Are they superstar players? Are they the players to the caliber of what the Dodgers are rolling out, what the Yankees are rolling out? The answer is no. It's just a resounding no. It doesn't mean they're not good players. It doesn't mean they can't compete. I played with Dalton Varsho. I'm a believer in Dalton Varsho, but at this point, Dalton Varsho isn't the difference maker either. So I'm wondering who is. Springer, hell of a ball player. But for whatever reason, this cocktail mix of this group of players simply cannot win in this division.
Cody, so you just lay it out, but where did they go from here? So the fan base has been very frustrated. Last week we saw John Schneider come out and he just basically said, hey, you need patience. I'm going to continue to say the same thing. And then he kind of walked it back a couple days later. Where did they go from here? Is there any chance that they can turn it around? You just mentioned on paper it looks really good, but it's not working. Where do they go from here?
You have to see how the season plays out for one. It's still early. At the end of the day, it's still, May 8th right now. So because it's May 8th, somebody could fall off. The Red Sox, I don't expect to be hovering around this exact spot as the season goes forward. But if they do, hell, as of right now, everybody in the AL East is a buyer when it comes to the trade deadline. If we get to the trade deadline and the Jays somehow start to fall further and further back, they have a lot of interesting pieces that a lot of teams would be very interested in getting their hands on. So maybe it's time to start rebuilding this franchise because at the end of the day, they are in last place in the AL East. It's just a sad fact. And I hate the fact that we're here, but keep in mind, it's still early. They can win some ball games. They still got Kevin Gausman, who is not off to the stellar start that we were expecting, but he's still got Kevin Gausman. He's not going to have a 3.5 ERA at the end of the season.
Right, exactly. I mean, their staff. Bassett hasn't been great. He pitched better today. Barrios was started great. He got lit up last night. I mean, everything's going to balance out. Even their bullpen's been terrible, and last year that was a real positive. And I think they feel good about what they have. Again, on paper, we're chatting with Cody Decker, former MLB player, SiriusXM host of Beadle and Decker. Schneider blew up yesterday. Just started snapping and losing it. And some people are thinking, okay, is that a sign of a guy that knows he's in trouble, he's going down with a fight? Like, I'm curious, if you're in the clubhouse, like, does that have to come off natural? Like, when your manager's going crazy like that, if it feels unnatural, how do the players respond to that?
They can smell a bluff, man.
Okay. And where do you stand on that?
Exactly what O-Dog just said. Yep, you can smell the bluff, man. 100%. It's just a fact. It depends on the here's the thing. The sad fact is that we can speculate and pontificate all we want. We're not the ones in the clubhouse, so we don't know how the players truly feel about their manager. They might have seen him blow up and be like, yeah, that's our guy. He's got our back. It could just be the exact opposite of what O-Dog just said. It could just be that scenario where the guys are sniffing it out and be like, this is for show, and it's the way it goes. And I don't know if you've seen what the Blue Jays managerial situations have been outside of the incredible. Why am I forgetting his name?
Well, Cito was great.
Guy. Oh yeah, I love me some Cito.
John Gibbons.
Gibby, that's my guy. I'm
John
a Gibby
Gibbons.
guy.
We love
myself.
Gibby too, man.
Played for Gibby in Double-A in San Antonio. Didn't understand a word he said for an entire season. Phenomenal. Love me some Gibby. But at the end of the day, I mean, like, let's be real clear. It's been a revolving door over there in Toronto. And I understand why. And I understand why everybody in Toronto is frustrated. At the end of the day, it's the AL Beast. You're in the toughest division in Major League Baseball, arguably year in, year out. This was a year where everybody was yelling at the Red Sox for claiming to be all in and doing absolutely nothing. Yet somehow they're 2 games above 500 right now. Because they're the Red Sox. It's what they do. The Tampa Bay Rays seemingly make no moves every single year, and their entire lineup is a list of unknown. But I'm never going to bet against the Tampa Bay Rays. They're in the playoffs every single year. The Yankees have one of the biggest payrolls in baseball, and their payroll's only going to double next year when they have no choice but to pay Juan Soto $550 million, and they're going to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Soto, I mean, look at what the Yankees are doing with Soto, with Judge. If Judge stays healthy, I mean, they don't even have Cole going, and they're off to the start that they're on, right? Like, yeah. I mean, and Baltimore still, for whatever reason, maybe we don't talk about them enough because they didn't come out of nowhere last year. Everyone knew that they were coming, but I thought they'd be like a 500 club last year, and they won a million games. Yeah, now it's like they've expedited the whole process. They call Holiday up, they send him back down. They don't even need him yet. You know, like that's what's scary, right, Cody? Like if you're looking at the Jays, maybe if you're looking at the Sox, even the Rays, like the Yankees may have found their form again, and when are the Orioles possibly going to slow down?
The Orioles are not going to slow down anytime soon. That new ownership is going to be committed to this group, not to mention these guys are all under rookie contracts. None of them have to get paid for years to come. It is a dangerous ball club, and they're going to be hovering around the top of this division for years to come. But like you said, I thought they weren't going to be good for another year, maybe 2 years, and lo and behold, last year they ended up making that leap that I was expecting the Toronto Blue Jays to make that year. And they didn't. And right now, as you're seeing, the Blue Jays still kind of stuck in the sand. And it's not because of a lack of talent. That is for sure. 1 through 9, this team is as talented as anybody in baseball. Their pitching staff is talented as anybody in baseball. You mentioned their bullpen last year was a strong point. To this point, it's been a borderline dumpster fire. But here's the good news. For a team that has not been playing up to their caliber, which the Blue Jays have not, they're only 3 games under 500. And again, their competition, if you really look at the way Major League Baseball is laid out now, their competition is no longer the Yankees, no longer the Orioles. Their competition is the 2nd and 3rd place team of every single team in the American League. They need one of those wild card spots, and that's where they should be looking.
Cody, have you ever seen a story like this Alek Manoah story here? Have you ever heard of a player where it's been, you know, the guy was it seemed like a rocket ship to be a rock star, and then it's just the bottom's fallen out. Have you ever played with somebody like that or seen a story like this? Because it's been wild here.
I mean, I've seen this story once or twice, but there was a lot of off-field things that were also contributing to creating this, horrible mess. Manoah, all I've ever heard of Manoah is that he's a great guy, good clubhouse guy, and works his ass off. Unfortunately, I don't know what's going on. I wish to God I could see some of the pitching metrics. I would love to see where his fastball is. I would love to see what kind of break he's getting on his off-speed pitches, or if it's just a full-on mental block that he's hit. This guy was an all-star 2 years ago. This guy was the hottest thing out of the all-star game in L.A. when he was mic'd up, and I was like, this guy right here might be the future of Major League Baseball. And it's been a fall off. Have I seen this before? Yes. But again, when I say the drastic things that were taking place off the field for those players were different than this, they were. And those guys were messes of human beings. Trust me, I know. I played with them. Manoah, I've heard nothing but glowing reviews about. So I truly don't know what the hell is going on with this guy. He's off the charts talented, and for some reason, he just can't get it going.
Yeah, it's extreme, man. And yet he's going to get another start, likely against the Twins this weekend, and it'll be back at home for the first time, too. So we'll see what he's got. He is Cody Decker, co-host of the Beadle and Decker show on SiriusXM. Great catching up with you, man. Really appreciate you doing this.
Toronto, go to that game against the Twins and giving a standing ovation the same way they did for Trey Turner in Philly last year. Maybe it'll help. Probably not, but maybe.
Sure. We'll give it a shot. We'll see what we can do. We'll do it for you. Thanks, Cody. Appreciate
Guys,
it, man.
Have a great one.
You got it. There he is, Cody Decker. Listen, that was an interesting comment about Vladdy and Bo, right? Like everyone here is still like, we're holding out hope. They're going to do it. And he's like, no.
A year ago.
Yeah, this is who you are now. You know, like Vladdy in particular, the last 2 years, his stats just have not been overly impressive. They've been good. He's been a good ball player. Not great, not a superstar. And, you know, Bo racks up a lot of hits, but strikes out a lot. You know, we know his history. So we appreciate that from Cody Decker. All right, we'll come back with our PGA picks, a big one this week. Big one at Quail Hollow. We love it, the Wells Fargo. Maybe a five-pack and a couple Canadians. We'll see.
We'll see. I love a 5-pack, though.
All right, that's coming up next. All right, here we go. We got a big elevated event this week. The next couple of weeks on the PGA Tour, PGA Championship next week. We've got Wells Fargo, down at Quail Hollow this week. We can't wait for it. OverDrive PGA Picks brought to you by TaylorMade. Experience TaylorMade speed with the forgiveness of 10K inertia with the all-new QI10 Max Driver. Only from TaylorMade. Learn more at TaylorMadeGolf.ca.
Dude, the weight loss plus a new P790, I'm hitting irons because when I was a moose, I couldn't turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know. I saw you swing. I know. A lot of arms. You had a lot of arms in your moose era.
Are you hitting it better now that you're like
your glutes are shooting?
No,
you had no glutes.
It's rotation, dude. I couldn't even rotate. It was like I just had one arm and I was swinging with one arm. Like now, I am Tiger 2000 launching golf balls up in the air. I feel like an athlete. It's incredible.
I love it. Yeah, and the QI10, this driver is so money. Like, dude, everyone I'm playing with the boys
to be able to turn on a golf ball again, wow, what a feeling.
It's a great feeling.
You want the first pick? Who do you got?
I'll take Rory. He loves this place. I'll take McIlroy.
I'm going to shock you with this one. Absolutely shock you with Billy Zaltz.
Ooh, wow. I like that. I wrote him down. I like Bill Zalatoris here. I like him a lot. I'll take Wyndham Clark.
I'm
on the chalk. I'm on the favorites. But Wyndham shows up, man. He competes. He plays hard. Wyndham Clark. Obviously, Scheffler's not in this, right? Because
I'm going to go Max Homa. I'm going to go Max Homa.
You're going Max.
Max Homa.
Max Homa. That is an interesting pick. I'm going to take Colin Morikawa.
Dude, you always take him, and he never does anything.
He's won 2 majors. He's won 2 majors. He sniffs around. He actually played well. He choked a little bit on Sunday at Augusta, but he played good at the Masters.
I'm going to take a guy that needs to get his head out of his butt. Mm-hmm. Rick Hovland.
I don't like that pick.
What?
Don't like that pick.
How did he win $28 million at the end of the year tournament and then he decided to change his swing?
I don't know.
If that's not the definition of insanity, I don't know what is. He was killing everyone.
I know, he was, but I'm with you. It's kind of like Justin Thomas right now. Like I can't look at it. I can't trust it. I can't trust Rick Hovland. I can't trust JT. I can trust my boy, Sahith Theegala. I like Sahith. I love him this week. I will take him, Sahith Theegala.
I'm going to take a guy that's going to bother you. and there's a bunch of different things that will bother you. Mm-hmm. And one of the things is a black pant and a brown belt, and it's my boy Bryan
Harmon. You're taking Harmon?
Watch him this week. He's a feisty competitor, and he needs to get back on track.
He is. All right, I'm looking at the favorites here. Like I'll take Xander. Schauffele. He's always in the mix.
Yeah, there's another one of your favorites.
I love Xander because he top tens every single big tournament. He's paying 9-1 on FanDuel. I mean, he's second odds. So he likes this track. He's won here before, I believe. I will take Xander. That's 5 for me.
I'm gonna take 2 more.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. One is Nikki Taylor.
Okay.
All right.
And the other is going to be Ricky Fowler.
Ricky Fowler.
Wow.
Come on, dude.
Come on, dude. You take
Ricky
some
Fowler.
stupid ones too. I step outside the box.
I will right here. I'm going to take Corey Connors as my Canadian, and I will take Denny McCarthy. Denny gets that flat stick cooking. We saw Denny a little while ago with Akshay Bhatia.
Is he the equivalent of Bob May?
Well, remember he hit that chunk on the playoff hole into the water
Dude,
against
Akshay
Bhatia.
Bhatia, he ripped the heart out of Denny McCarthy,
Yeah,
man.
he did. He did. Well, Denny shot like 8 under on the back to push it to a playoff, and then he just folded, man. So I'll take Denny. I think Denny's got a shot. There it is. 6-pack and a Canadian. Corey Connors.
There you go.
Bunch of Canadian flags. Max in it this week. Adam Hadwin's back. Adam Svensson. I don't think Pendrith is playing, and I can't understand why.
He is playing. He has to be playing. He won last week. Taylor Pendrith.
Yes,
I
he
see
is.
him
You're
on
right.
the list.
Yes.
I'll take Pendrith. You take I'll take Mac Hughes. You take Pendrith.
Done. I'll
right.
take Pendrith going back to back. He's got to be in this, and he is. All right, you got Mac, I got Pendrith. There it is. Lock it in. OverDrive PGA Picks brought to you by TaylorMade. Experience TaylorMade speed with the forgiveness of 10K inertia with the all-new QI10 Max driver. Only from TaylorMade. Learn more at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. Picks are in. We look forward to it starting tomorrow. Oilers Canucks tonight. We'll break that down tomorrow. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, we appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.